You're after an intro like that, I don't think I need to speak at all. Why are you here today? Are you here to protect children?
Yes!
They can't hear you! Are you here to protect children?
Yes!
Make them hear you! Are you here to keep toxic British activists out of the Irish establishment?
Yes!
Are you here to make sure that the job of the Minister for Children is to actually protect children?
Yes!
Good. Because oddly, that doesn't seem to be his job. And the Irish media do not want to make it his job. For 6.5 days, Rodrigo Gorman refused to answer. For 6.5 days after appearing with a man who for 30 or more years has campaigned for paedophilia. Rodrigo Gorman sang Stum and the Irish media covered for him. It got so bad that when they couldn't do it any longer, Matt Cooper brought Peter Tatchell onto his radio show. And what did he do? He licked him like a lollipop. And that's what we're up against. And at the back somewhere, at the back, our friends who hate free speech, our friends from Antifa who support child abuse, our friends from Antifa who want us silenced so we can't talk about child abuse. Well, hello, lads. If this is the hill you've decided to die on, it's a bad hill. Peter Tatchell is, of course, one of the unluckiest men on earth. He writes a letter to The Guardian criticising a woman who described a book on paedophilia as an excuse for child abuse. But he claims that The Guardian, of all places, The Guardian edited it to make it sound like he was in favour. 3 days later he wrote another letter, but he never complained they edited the first one. And what about the fact that when Ian Campbell Dunn died, he was at the funeral, and there was a young man in that small crowd of mourners, a young man who told everyone, I'm here because he raped me when I was 14, and I want to make sure the bastard is dead. 4 days later, Tatchell wrote an obituary that didn't even cover the fact that Ian Campbell Dunn was one of Britain's biggest campaigners for paedophilia. Well, he might not have known. He seems not to know a lot. When he wrote a chapter in a book promoting paedophilia, he didn't know that the editor was Warren Middleton. He didn't know that the next chapter in the book was Ways and Means. How to make paedophilia acceptable. He just didn't know. Now be fair. Maybe he just needs a reminder. Maybe he's just unlucky. You wouldn't go into a lotto syndicate with him. Well, that bad luck continued because Rodrigo Gorman would have gotten away with his toxic agenda, barred the fact that citizen journalists unearthed that photograph on his Twitter. The Irish media was never going to do it. So why is Rodrigo Gorman unsuitable as a Minister for Children? Let's start with what he believes about schools. O'Gorman believes that religion should be out of schools. No religious instruction, nothing, no prayers, nothing. Now, what he's campaigning for is what he calls a neutral ethos. There is no neutral ethos. So for that reason, Rodrigo Gorman must go. Rodrigo Gorman must go.
Rodrigo Gorman must go. Rodrigo Gorman must go. Rodrigo Gorman must go. Rodrigo Gorman must go.
Rodrigo Gorman also believes that prostitution is a career choice. Yes, he has tweeted about it. Prostitution. He ignores the fact that prostitution is largely trafficking of underage women. Rodrigo Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go!
Rodrigo Gorman must go!
we get to his worst, and this has been mentioned by several speakers, Rodrigo Gorman. Oh, and by the way, first, let me cover another issue. Homophobia! I don't know, do you know? But I'm pretty much out of the closet. And I can tell you, the very lowest and worst form of homophobia is a double standard that insists that gay politicians have to be taken at a lower standard than straight politicians.
Yeah.
Gay people are not some special butterflies that can't be questioned. Gay people are no longer victims, and Rodrigo Gorman, in a republic of equals, can be questioned.
100%.
The very worst and most toxic thing about O'Gorman and his connections to Educate and Celebrate and the Tatchell Foundation is his pure buy-in to that appalling ideology of transgenderism, that insane, toxic, stupid craziness that insists that biology doesn't matter, you can be what you imagine you are. I don't care what adults do. I don't care if you want to wear lipstick and a dress with your beard and walk down Grafton Street and call yourself Loretta. Off you go. But when they apply that toxic agenda to children, that's where I say, Rodrigo Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go! Do you know what they do to children before they hit puberty? When they get them into these vulnerable children into that position, they put them on drugs to delay puberty. So a boy will reach 18 with the same little equipment he had when he was 9. It's sick, you are right, and these drugs are untested. We do not know the effect, physically and psychologically, of delaying puberty until you're in your 20s. But it's worse with girls. When you put a girl on puberty blockers, you sterilize her. They are sterilizing 8, 9, and 10-year-old girls. When the Nazis did that sort of thing, we shot them. This must not come in here. And then, when that little girl reaches 12, 13, they do what they call top surgery. Because we can't use the word breasts, we can't say mastectomy, because technically they want to imagine that this is a boy. So they give a 14-year-old girl a double mastectomy. Can you imagine doing that to a child?
Evil!
It's it. You are right. This is why, because he's bought in, because he wants this ideology, because this, as John pointed out, this sick, toxic craziness is his #1 priority. Not child homelessness, not child poverty, not child illiteracy. That's why, because he believes in this ridiculous rainbow ideology, Rodrigo Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go! And now, let me remind you of one more fact. We were here some months ago talking about free speech. The only reason we could out and catch O'Gorman was free speech. If they had hate speech legislation, you would not be here today because you would not know. If they get hate speech legislation, dumb and silent, you will be led into their new Ireland. Rodrigo Gorman must go!
O'Gorman must go! Rodrigo Gorman must go!